Hey Preds Nation, Johnny here. Sorry I haven't been able to get good quality Preds videos out to you in the last week or so, as there have been Preds happenings, but I was on vacation and didn't get the time that I think would be required to focus on the Preds news, but I'm going to do my best to wrap up this last week now. Before we get into the meat of what this video is, I will touch upon the other Preds news from this week, as a central video to just that Preds news would seem redundant since days have passed since those transactions have happened. First of all, welcome new Preds defenseman Ryan McDonagh, traded last Sunday from Tampa in exchange for Filip Myers and Preds prospect Grant Mismatch. Filip Myers, if you remember, was traded last summer from Philly in exchange that sent Ryan Ellis to Philadelphia. Ryan McDonagh, in this case, had a no trade clause that allowed him to stop a trade to 12 teams, and that no trade clause will still kick in for the 4 remaining years of his contract that has an AAV of $6.75 million. It will help strengthen this Preds defensive core. As for draft day that happened on Thursday and Friday, the Preds took a collection of 4 forwards and 2 defensemen. Yes, you heard me right. The Preds for a draft actually took more forwards than defensemen. And with the 17th pick overall that highlighted their draft day, they selected from the Finnish Elite League JYP Joakim Kemell, who was actually touted by a lot of draft experts to be favored in mock drafts to go in the lower 10s. So the fact that they fell all the way to the Preds at 17 hopefully is a plus for them moving forward. Later in the draft on day 2, the Preds made a big move that I would think was a big move to many of us in the fan base, including me, were hoping they would move. Luke Kunin, who had an off second year of his time with the Preds, even though his high point was scoring the game-winning OT goal in Game 4 in the playoff series against Carolina. Luke Kunin was traded to San Jose for John Leonard, who is a prospect that hopefully can find a second home and take the place of Luke Kunin and maybe make the top 6, but also the Preds added to their draft class for next season by acquiring San Jose's 3rd round pick in a 2023 draft. Preds also made a smaller deal with Toronto. They gave Toronto their 4th round pick this year, and they will get Toronto's 4th round pick next year. So in total, right now in draft picks, a year ahead of time for the 2023 draft, the Preds still have their 1st, they still have their 2nd, they have 2 3rds, 2 4ths, their 5th, and their 6th. Okay, so now that the preceding days of the week are out of the way, I think this calls for a wardrobe change. That's much better. With free agency set to open up, with upcoming UFAs would be able to test the open market come Wednesday morning, the Preds finally have Filip Forsberg, pen to paper, signed to his 8-year deal. That's right, for the next 8 seasons until the end of the 2029-2030 season at an AAV of $8.5 million per season. Nobody else will be wearing number 9, and I'd like to predict ahead of time, nobody else should ever wear number 9 in Preds gold again, as that number hopefully will hang one day up in Bridgestone Arena rafters, along with 59 that will be up there one day, with 35 waiting for those 2 numbers to join them. But yes, I don't want to get ahead of myself and jinx it. Ever since the last season ended, there was rumors about how far apart both camps were, and with a month left to go until this date and time, it was rumored that the Preds were in the low 8 million, and Forsberg was asking for the high 8, knowing that before free agency was to begin, the Preds had the incentive of being able to offer Forsberg a max 8-year deal, which on the open market he could only get 7. And there's also the tax situation in Tennessee that would be beneficial. So the Preds could offer him a certain amount of money, and for him to beat that on the open market with taxes, other teams would have to overpay. There was never an issue about Forsberg wanting more money than the captain of Roman Josi making $9.059 million. That was never an issue. It was just the Preds showing Forsberg how important he was to the team and the fan base, and they finally met in the middle at $8.5 million per year of the $8 million. And I'm okay with this, even though when he gets older, it may seem like illogical making that much money. But in terms of what he means to the franchise, I am okay with Forsberg having a total no move, no trade clause built into every single season of this deal. You have to be willing to give these out every so often. I know for the longest time that Pekka Rinne was the only one on the Preds roster who had one. And outside of homegrown talent, you have to be willing to give these out every so often so that you can incentivize prime free agents to come and play with the Preds to hopefully bring this team a Stanley Cup championship one day. Filip Forsberg is the all-time leader in goals scored in a Preds uniform. He's 4th in points, and you know, by the end of his career, him and Roman Josi, by the time he finishes his career, will be 1-2 in almost every single Preds offensive category, and Preds Nation will never have to worry about the possibility that could have come up if they hadn't gotten this deal done of booing number 9 when he came back to play on Bridgestone Arena ice, like Ryan Suter still gets that treatment every time he comes to town. So now that I have caught you up on the preceding week in Preds news, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, click a like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really like it. You can find my social media by clicking on the channel name. Tell all your friends about Predemption, and while you're at it, tell all of your other hockey friends that number 9, Filip Forsberg, is not playing for another team in the NHL for pretty much the rest of his career.